I got involved because of the bee thing, first of all, because ISU wanted to have bees on campus and become a bee campus, and so I had friends that raised bees, and so I asked them to help with the bee ordinance. And I also went to that meeting, and in that meeting they discussed chickens, and they just sort of wanted to dismiss the chickens completely and not even have a discussion about it, and just concentrate only on the bee part of it. But with the other few people that came that also either had their own chickens or wanted to have their own chickens, it became the discussion changed to where they decided to have further discussion on it at a later point. And so they asked for volunteers, and I'm a great volunteer, so I volunteered to be on that committee to initiate the ordinance. And so we had multiple meetings about chickens and raising them, and the pros and the cons, and the smell, and how far apart the hen house or the yards and hen house had to be from other places, and we just built the ordinance. But I think having people involved that even were in the county and not necessarily in the city gave the people of the city a better understanding of what chickens were about and how well they were kept and how they take care of them when they die and all of the other issues that come along with having pets. Basically, they were afraid they were going to get loose and people would have to run down the streets chasing them. And they obviously didn't know how scared chickens were to be out of their normal environment and how they would just sort of freeze and not go anywhere. But so I found that to be comical. I could just picture the conservation people running down the roads chasing a chicken. It just was funny as heck. The discussion was mostly people on the committee were more concerned about how close they were to being next to other buildings, and whether or not they had enough space requirements per chicken. And then what they do with them after they were died, or if they were perished by running down the street and got run over or whatever. So those were mostly the concerns with the committee at the beginning of the ordinance. Well, the end result was they determined that they needed X amount of space, and I, off the top of my head, don't remember, but it was about 2 or 3 foot square for each chicken. They decided to limit the quantity of chickens, which I think was appropriate, to I think 8, and then they determined how far from other buildings a chicken coop could be. That ran into some issues because some of the lots were really tiny in Terre Haute. Out in the country it doesn't really matter, or if you have a good sized piece of property that's not an issue either, but so many of the city lots were very tiny, so that had to be modified somewhat, and not have them so far from a fence line or for the property line. So that got modified so that the hen building could be either attached to a garage or at less required space from a property line or other buildings, so that if people who wanted chickens could still have them even though their lot was really tiny.